Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Shawn Fain, the head of the United Auto Workers Union, absolutely clowns Kaitlan Collins, who does not understand how tariffs actually work. Let's dive in.
You have praised the auto tariffs here, 25% that went into effect last night. What's your response to what Stellantis did today?
You know, there's excess capacity all over this country right now. And Stellantis has excess capacity right in Warren, Michigan, where they're laying people off again. They could move Ram truck production there in very short order, be producing Ram trucks. I'm here in Chattanooga, Tennessee right now at Volkswagen. Volkswagen produces 75% of their vehicles in Mexico. And, you know, there's excess capacity right here at this plant. So Lordstown, Ohio, Lordstown Assembly Plant. I mean, there's plenty of capacity in this country. People forget about the arsenal of democracy and how excess capacity in this country was used to support the war effort and delivered a victory in World War II for America. And so we really have to look at reality and quit using fear tactics and scare tactics in talking about this.
I mean, your auto workers, maybe they're happy with the auto tariffs. We saw some of them in the Rose Garden yesterday cheering the president's moves. But what about when they're paying more for food and clothes and electronics? Are they worried about that tonight?
Well, I mean, I think everyone's worried about it, but let's talk about the real problem here. The real problem isn't these tariffs. The real problem here is corporate greed. I mean, let's talk about the auto industry from 2020 to 2023 when they jacked up the price of vehicles 35%. It wasn't because wages went up. It wasn't because of tariffs. People were manipulating and price gouging consumer because of a pandemic that was in place. So, you know, it's a choice. And I keep hearing the cry. I've heard this crying all day about the stock market. You know, a majority of Americans don't own stock. Working class people, 60% don't have any retirement savings. That's the crisis in this country. That's what we need to be talking about. And how do we make the trade laws and make these things fairer and bring work back to puts people to work where they can have a decent quality of life.
Yeah, and on that retirement comment, that's something Senator Bernie Sanders would agree with you on. But I think some people in the audience watching who've seen you on this show before, heard you talk, especially during the campaign at the Democratic convention and whatnot, they might be surprised to hear you saying, no, I agree with what President Trump is doing on this front. The vice president was actually asked about this earlier tonight, and this was his response to your comments.
How funny is it watching Shawn Fain, the auto workers union guy, who, by the way, picked the
guy who picked
the worst horse ever. I mean, you picked Kamala over Trump, and now he's praising the president. I bet you he's got to be embarrassed by his choice in this last election.
Well, he trashed us, but we're welcome to have everybody on the team. And Shawn Fain recognizes what so many auto workers recognize, which is that President Trump's policies are great. And yes, there is some transition that's going to come along with this, but you're already seeing the evidence that things are getting better.
What do you make of that?
Well, let's be blunt about it. There's a lot of things we disagree with this administration on, like eliminating contracts for, hundreds of thousands of federal workers. But on this issue, we agree on tariffs. And this is what's wrong. This is the problem of what's wrong in America right now. This is why half of Americans don't vote. Because one party gets in power and the other party blocks everything. The other party gets in power and the other party tries to block everything. And what happens in that process is the people get left behind. So it's time for leaders to step up and lead. And just because Donald Trump supports tariffs and we didn't support Donald Trump in the election doesn't mean we're going to say, well, because Donald Trump supports it now, we're going to say they're bad. We believe this is the right thing to do at this time, especially for the auto industry. And regardless of political party, we've been clear about this. We don't care what party people come from. Our mission doesn't change. We expect workers' rights to be taken care of. We expect our leaders of this country to look after working class people in this country. And that's what we stand for. There's no flip-flopping. There's no 180. It's having integrity.
Y'all, we are in a historic moment. Historically speaking, the Republican Party has been the party of big business. It has been the party of protecting American trade. It has been the party of, let's be honest, both capitalism and again, I hate putting it this way because I am by definition a Republican, but the Republican Party has been the party of money. Okay, that's been the truth of the GOP since its inception back in the 1850s, whereas the Democrats have historically been the party of the little guy. Okay, the working class dude, the working farmer, and then minority groups post 1960. But something is changing. We are in a historic moment here. And that is the fact that the GOP, thanks to Donald Trump, has been moving the Overton window, for lack of a better phrase, back into the American sphere and basically saying that, hey, we need to make labor great again. That's the first time, I think, in Republican Party history, and that's been the biggest shift in American politics since FDR back in the 1930s with his New Deal, and basically the whole system of government that has been set up has been throughout American history since 1933, when FDR has gotten into office. We have been living in that era. And the GOP historically has been trying to unwork it because some things are, simply put, just unworkable, where the Democrats have been trying to strengthen it, and even they've had to admit that they've screwed up. They screwed up back in the 80s, and then they're screwing up again because they have forgotten what makes their party great. They have left an entire segment of their party, arguably a third of their entire coalition, just hanging out to dry, and that is the labor force. Labor used to look to the Democrats and say, hey, thank you so much for standing up for us, but the times have changed. The last time the Democrats have stood up for the working class in the United States was in the 1990s, and that was when, arguably, they kind of screwed it up with the crime bill that was written by Joe Biden himself. And then, go figure, Joe Biden tries to get into office, and once he does, he's so mentally incapable that he basically allows inflation to rise to a degree that absolutely destroys the working class. There's a reason Donald Trump won the popular vote, and that's because people realize there needs to be a change. If tariffs can deliver that change, and by the way, when Shawn Fain, the head of the United Auto Workers Union, basically says that we kind of agree with Trump on this, that represents a paradigm shift in politics, and not just at the Republican or Democrat level. That is a coalition change that is so monumental. We might be living in a new era of politics, ladies and gentlemen. This excites me as a political scientist, but I want to know what y'all think down below. But there's more to the story, okay? This isn't just bringing up Chattanooga. This isn't, which by the way is the forgotten city of Tennessee. It's a beautiful town that should be a whole lot wealthier than it is, but they lost a lot of jobs thanks to NAFTA, and that's not just in Tennessee. That's across the entire Rust Belt, which is much farther to the north, across Ohio and Pennsylvania. And that's why J.D. Vance is in this video here, laughing at the fact that Shawn Fain is basically giving support to the Trump administration because, again, he understands that this is a monumental shift, a titanic shift, if you will. Because ultimately, when the auto workers are basically saying that, hey, we kind of need tariffs in order to keep jobs here, we need to protect American labor, what they're basically saying is Democrats have done a horrific job of defending their needs and their abilities for the past almost 30 years. I was watching clips the other day of Nancy Pelosi herself, back in the 1990s, railing against the idea that American workers were going to be left behind. This was just 2 years after Bill Clinton passed NAFTA, which, by the way, was so monumentally bad that in 1994, when it was passed, there was a Republican earthquake that forced Bill Clinton to move back to the center and realize that, oh, there's another paradigm shift. We're watching history unfold, ladies and gentlemen, and Kaitlan Collins can only sit there and just kind of be there for the information. She's trying to ask tough questions of Shawn Fain here, but Shawn Fain knows what he wants. He wants to protect American labor. And you know what? Good for him. This is the first time that Republicans have ever aligned with pro-labor policies, and it's about time. There is a huge paradigm shift going on. There's a reason why Josh Hawley is sort of abandoning traditional Republican principles, which is a big reason why Republicans are in a state of flux right now and why Democrats do not know what to do. Politics is shifting at a monumental scale right here, and you're seeing this in this very clip. What Shawn Fain is admitting to, essentially, is that labor is shifting from Democrat to Republican, and folks, I am here for it. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed this segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.